I'm going to start off this segment by stating what should be the obvious. My truck is different from your truck. The next sequence that I'm going to do applies specifically to my truck. Not even 1984 Peterbilt, as you may have the exact same year, make, and model truck, but might have a different front axle. So this procedure is to be used for you as an idea on how to do it, but not the exact technical specs of it. I will provide you where I get my information from as the proper way to set the preload on these bearings. But understand, your truck will be different than mine. On with the show. Going to do now is I'm going to lubricate right on top and around where the wheel seal rides on the spindle itself. Probably put too much, but the idea is just to get it wet with oil so it slides on, doesn't bind or rip the seal. I also took a little bit of emery cloth and cleaned up the rust that's on there from the years of use or abuse, if you want to use. I also lubricate the spindle where the bearing will ride on the spindle, that way it slides on there nice and easy. This will all be buried in an oil bath anyway, but this way it'll ease for assembly purposes. So now with the hub here, I will lubricate by finger the race for the outer bearing. Once that's done, she's ready to assemble. Okay, now we're ready to go. The other thing I'm going to do quick, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the race itself, not the race. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the seal itself, again, just to make it ride on that spindle a little easier and not worry about tearing the rubber as we press it on. Probably a little too much, but again, like I said, this is an oil bath setup anyway. So now in one fell swoop, I'm going to pick it up, gently slide it on there so the bearing will ride right on the spindle nice and smoothly, and then seat the race. There it is. Now I'm going to hold it up. If I let it go, it'll pop that seal out. I'm going to loosely set the bearing right there, put a little bit of oil on it, and then slide the bearing in. Give her a little bit of rotation so that we seat the oil in there nicely. Then we're going to take our adjustment nut. Note this nub sticks out. That comes outward. Put the nut on. And now we torque it down to seat that bearing and race and seal all together. I'm using this at first just to get it close. This is still set at 50 from when I did the other side. While you do it, rotate it. I don't believe it matters which direction you rotate it as long as you rotate it. This has to be set to 200 foot-pounds. This one will not do. That's a 150 foot-pound torque wrench. This bad boy you need. It does get harder to turn the tighter you go. See, now I turn it and you give it more application of torque and it doesn't go anywhere, it just clicks. That's right at 200 foot-pounds. The next step is you back it off one full turn. Probably don't need to go a full turn because that's obviously now just hand loose. The idea is to loosen it up. This one is adjusted to 50. So again, while turning, crank it down to 50 pounds while turning. Spin it, turn it, spin it, click. See, now you spin it, but it doesn't move anymore. That is now set to 50 foot-pounds. Now this truck here, according to the chart, you back it off now 1/6 of a turn, like this chart right here. That's because this spindle has a 12 thread per inch thread pitch to it. So we're going to back it off approximately 1/6 of a turn. I'm going to try to start it at 12 o'clock, back it off about 1/6. That's about it. Should feel a little bit of ease to turn it. Now I have a different way than most when it comes to checking your end play. We'll go ahead and do that now. Because we're not going to take it back off, we're going to go ahead and finish the brake part of it. So if you did take your shoes off, go ahead and put them back on. For this job we didn't have to. I cut her earlier enough, was able to clean them. Put your brake drum back on. Yeah, that's a wrestling match. The lug nuts on the right side of the truck are right-handed thread. On the left side of the truck, they're left-handed thread. They're backwards than standard. The thought was in the day, the direction of the wheel wouldn't loosen your lug nuts. That is common on Bud style rims. These are stud centric. The edge of the nut and the concaveness in the rim is what centers the rim to the hub. More modern trucks have a hub centric. There'll be fingers in here to keep it centered. But in Orwell's case, the right side of the truck is right-handed thread. Left is left. That goes for the rears as well. I don't want to kill them down, just get them tight enough to get a decent preload on there. We have to torque these once the truck gets set on the ground. Now what you do, you see this washer, it has this flat edge. It matches this flat part of the spindle, but also these holes line up with that nub. So what you do is you put it on, and if it doesn't fit, see, it's exactly in the middle between this hole and that hole right there. Take it, reverse it, put it on, and it fits perfectly. The next washer has a little dimple. Line that dimple. I assume it can go in any hole that needs to go into, but I tend to put it in the same one as where the bump holds that nut from turning. Maybe you don't need to, but I do anyway. I just put a little dab of oil on the nut itself, because you're going to put a lot of crap on that. Eventually you're going to tighten this down to 300 foot-pounds. So you might want to put a little oil just so you don't shear nothing. Can't see it hurting. Could put some on the threads too, couldn't hurt. Now that that's set down, there's 300. Again, turn the wheel as you go. Now what we're going to do is check the end play. We're simply going to put this dial indicator magnet right where it lines up, resting on the spindle, which obviously won't move, to the hub that will move a little bit. You need less than 5/1000ths of an inch. Less than 5/1000ths. 5/1000ths is 0.005. That's tight. I've set this right at 0, so I should be able to rock it back and forth. You can see any play if there is any. None. I'm going to go ahead and put my bar in the rim to make some end play if need be. None. That bearing is too tight. What we're going to do is we're going to just turn it open just a little bit. Again, just enough to get it to grab in the next hole. I can hear just a touch. I'll put the dial indicator on it and check. We literally have 1/1000th of an inch play. That's it. That's properly set. Now what we do to keep that adjustment is we bend this thin washer over and around the nut. Now it can't back off. Next we take our hubcap, our brand new gasket, and we start by threading it into the hub. Now that you put the hubcap on, now fill it with oil up to the full line. You got add, full, but what I tend to do is I fill it all the way to the top of the hole because it takes a while to flow through the outer bearing and into that big cavity. So you got to check it a few times. Give it time, that will drain down. All right, Matt, I'll let you do it. 500 foot-pounds, right?